Hello and welcome to another episode of Instrumental Ramblings with me, Joe Dusepo. And this episode we're looking at some items in the Victoria and Albert Museum, or the V&A as it's called, here in London. It's located here, and if we zoom out. This, by the way, is a carving entitled Apollo and the Nine Muses, so it's from about 1580. This would have been in a big country house of someone quite well-to-do in England. You can see here there's an interesting mix of Renaissance instruments and kind of interpretations of ancient classical instruments. So, for instance, you've got kind of classical lyres there, but you've also got a hurdy-gurdy, a Renaissance lute, and a Renaissance guitar there, the four-course Renaissance guitar, and perhaps timelessly a triangle. Anyway, moving on to some of the exhibits here. So this is a French lyre guitar from around 1780. Now what's interesting is that you've got 9 strings there, which is more like, so the 9 strings would be like a Baroque guitar, but obviously by about 1780 you're kind of into the Romantic period where guitars started to have 6 single strings. But this is strung with single strings. So this seems like an extended range guitar as opposed to a Baroque guitar. It's not so obvious here from the front, but from the back you can see that the neck is not attached to the body at all. So the entire thing is held together by these quite thin arms. And on each of the first few frets here, you've got little holes where you can put effectively a capo in each of those. So it's a very interesting design. Now this is a beautiful, beautiful bell cittern made around 1700 in Hamburg by Joachim Thielke, who is a quite famous, amazing German luthier. All his instruments are very ornately inlaid. You can see all this ivory and other materials used here. This bell cittern has 5 courses of very light gauge brass strings or steel. And here is a view of the same instrument from the back. Again, you can see there's very ornate inlaid designs all over the instrument. And we're going to see some more of his work a bit later on. There's a Baroque guitar made by him. Now this lute is a bit of an unknown. It's from around 1630. Again, the maker and exact date are unknown. It's thought to have been made in Venice, but you can see it's made, the ribs are completely made of ivory. There's unfortunately some cracks there. And also a surviving strap there, which is quite unusual. Amazing inlay again on the peg box and the back of the neck there. Now this is actually quite a famous instrument for us luthiers. This is a mandaria from around 1640. The exact maker is unknown, but it's thought to have been later repaired by someone called Boissart, or in the original French pronunciation something like Boissart, but I don't speak French, so take that with a grain of salt. You can see this amazing carving on the back here and on the back of the peg box as well. Now we know it was repaired because it's had lots of alterations done, thankfully not to the back so much, which is still in pretty good condition, but the front, the soundboard is probably not original, the stringing and the bridge probably not original. And this mandaria is one of the earliest surviving examples of what later became the mandolin family when it evolved into the Baroque mandolin and so forth. But this is one of the main instruments which I was there that day to research, so to me it's quite famous. I'm sure a few other luthiers it's also quite a well-known instrument, but for those who don't know, this is the mandaria. As you can see, it's displayed kind of facing down, so I couldn't get a good image of the front. This is an arch lute or thorbo built in 1637 by the Italian luthier Matteo Sellas. Again, lots of ivory inlay on this, particularly on the fingerboard you can see there. You can't see in this picture, but the back is also made completely of ivory, like the lute, which you can also see on the left there. And here is the mandaria at the bottom there as well. Now this is the Joachim Thielke Baroque guitar. This is very intricate. Look at those bridge moustaches. Look at the rows, the inlaid rows and the soundboard there. And also the peg head is cut out in the middle. Here is a close-up view of the inserted rose and also the rosette around that. Amazingly, amazingly intricate. And here is a back view of the body. You can see there again, like the bell cittern we saw earlier, lots and lots of inlay, lots of ivory, kind of a lot of bling really, which is very typical of Joachim Tjelka's instruments. And here is a close-up of the peg box. You can see here the carving inside that cutout bit in the middle of the peg box that I was talking about. So look at those fancy pegs there. They're also very intricate and very delicate. This instrument was believed to have been made about 1693, by the way. And that brings us to the end of this episode, where we've been exploring some things in the Victoria and Albert Museum. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will answer them in a future video. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to subscribe, or if you don't want to, that's fine too. I'm not your mum. See you next time.